All right, welcome to July. I can't even believe it's July, and another episode of an Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Please, if you're watching here online, subscribe, share, like, or comment. Make a comment during the live broadcast. We might even give you a shout out. You want all the episodes. A new episode releases every Wednesday at engagingvirtualmeetings.online, and you can get it at any one of your 13 favorite places for podcasts. Apple Podcasts, still the number one location to get this podcast. And if you want to be more engaging, come to the Engaging Conference this year, October 28th through the 30th, here in Seattle and online around the world. Get a free ticket at engagingvirtualmeetings.com/CON or check out the VIP options. Speaking of VIP options, wow, over the last month, I spent 3 weeks in St. Louis. I just want to give a shout out to National Speakers Association St. Louis, one of the friendliest chapters that I have visited, and then also ran a panel for Meeting Professional International's World Education Congress, produced all the keynotes for the United States Distance Learning Association, and actually very exciting that the unofficial karaoke last year actually made it to be an official karaoke event this year. Meanwhile, this gentleman coming up is one of the top, all right? He's in the education market. Him and I actually earned our certified speaking professional at the same time. He is one of 400 active speakers here, and he is known as Stand Tall Steve. Please let's welcome Steve Bollar. Steve,
Hey,
how's it going?
it's going great, man. Here we go. My brother, CS Peer. There you are, man.
I love it too. You even have your CSP in your background in the frame. That's very cool. My
Yeah,
friend
yeah, yeah, man. Got to bring it out. Got to showcase what we got. That's it.
Let's bring it on. Well, we're going to talk a few things NSA and a few things speaking and a
Yeah.
few things on the Stand Tall side. Stand Tall Steve also made a guest appearance at my birthday last year here in Seattle because he was speaking nearby. But a few of my friends actually don't know who you are, Steve. So why don't you just take this moment and introduce who you are and what you do in the world?
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, my name is Steve Bowler. I also go by the name of Stand Tall Steve, and I go by that name because I'm a tall guy. I am. I'm 6'7" tall. I am tall. No, I'm not a basketball player. Yes, I can play basketball. No, I will not do it for you. Yes, I can dunk the ball. No, I will not do it for you. Yes, I played in high school. No, I did not play in college. Yes, I enjoy the sport of basketball. No, I don't know any professional basketball players. So those are the questions I get everywhere I go all the time because 6'7" black men, bald head, got to be a ball player. But that's not what I do. I'm actually a former educator, teacher, principal. Most of my career I was at a principal and superintendent. I am from the East Coast, New Jersey, and I speak in the K-12 market specifically. I speak on three things: culture and climate, leadership development, idea development. Culture, climate, leadership development, idea development. And those are the things that I think in education in schools, that's what's needed. We need to develop environments where students can learn, teachers can teach, administrators can lead how they need to. They need to have leaders that understand how to create those environments and develop ideas that actually work. So for the last well, I've been speaking professionally for about 26 years, but the last 8 years I've been doing it full time, and that's what I do. I help educators. And then on the other side of that, I also help educators learn about the world of professional speaking. So that's me, man. That's what I'm all about.
You know what? This is a great question too. I don't know why, but I've gotten a lot of recent questions on the new speakers. The new speakers want to know, what are some of the tips that you have to make it? So, for instance, some of mine is just get on any stage, right? Like in the beginning, get on
Mhm.
any stage, get on as many stages as possible, and if you can't get on a stage, invent a stage. COVID gave us one of the best gifts. You have a virtual. All you got to do is put it out there. And I told people like get a monthly program that you can invite people to, and that's to me one of the best ways to start. But I'm curious, what does Stand Tall Steve say to the new people, new superintendents or other educators who want to go into speaking?
Yeah, well, being that I work in K-12 education, and that's public, parochial, private, charter, you name it, kindergarten, pre-K, even through 12th grade, I work a lot with a lot of educators and teachers. And a lot of them have been through professional developments, they've been through speeches, they've been through trainings in K-12 education, and they think that is what it is. That's the epitome. Now, here's the thing. In K-12 education, the bar is low. The bar is very low for speaking, training, consulting. It is not that great. You go to any teacher anywhere, any educator anywhere, and you say, hey, we're having a professional development day. They're instantly going through their calendar to see if they have time off because it's low. So educators who come to me and they say, hey, how do you do this? How do you make it a little bit better? How do you start speaking? How do you get into this thing? As I say to them, instantly make a list of all the things you don't like about K-12 education and speaking. Make a list of all the things that you do want to see and start doing the things you want to see. Get out there in front of your colleagues and start training your own colleagues. If you're
Yes.
an English
Yeah.
teacher at a high school, get the other English teachers together in your department, train something for them, right? Go to a neighboring district, offer the opportunity to speak to their group or the team. Educators know other educators in other districts and other locations. Offer yourself the opportunity to do that. Now, when you're saying new speakers anywhere, go to a chamber of commerce, go to a Rotary, go to go anywhere to speak that you can, or make your own venue. In education, is actually quite different and it's special because you have an audience. You get in front of kids every single day and you talk in front of kids every single day.
Yeah.
And now all you have to do is just switch that over to some of the adults and your colleagues. And you're like, oh, I'm worried about speaking in front of my adults. That's your supporters. My goodness, your supporters. They don't want to see you fail. They want to see you
Right.
succeed. And then you
Right.
use that network to grow. The opportunity, if you're an educator, the opportunity to grow within speaking is monumental. You just got to know how to talk to people, make things happen. Then there's the whole business side of it. But if you just want to start speaking in education, talk to some other educators. That's what it's all about, man.
That reminds me, Steve, at Microsoft, I started my career at Microsoft. I did
Okay.
10 years there. And
Mhm.
that was one of the things I just naturally gravitated to was we were all software design engineers in test, and I brought a group together and shared what we learned about a project. And that was like the first thing to go in there. And it just
Yeah.
turned into like a whole group that like had momentum all through. I think the group is actually still in existence there
Hmm.
because, and other people weren't doing it. So that's actually one of the funny things too, Steve, is that in team building, it's not actually team building you have to worry about. You put people together, they will naturally come together, whether they're in the quest to be first or the quest to not be last.
Hmm. Yeah,
but
yeah,
um,
yeah.
but in bringing that out is that the cross team collaboration was the most important thing. By getting people that of like minds to share ideas was one of the ways to instantly elevate yourself and the people around you. Have you seen?
Absolutely.
Yeah, have you seen things like that, or what
Oh,
else have you
yeah.
seen in the academic arena?
Oh, so many different things. I have this one person, I'm doing training with her
Yeah.
to helping her become a speaker, trainer, consulting in K-12 education. She is a middle school teacher. She's been teaching for 21 years, I think she said. For 21 years, she was a co-teacher. Like that's what she did. She's special ed. She's taught with another person. So her area of speaking
Mm.
is on co-teaching. That's what she does. She wants to get out there and help other teachers be better at co-teaching. So she literally went around the school, talked to as many other teachers as possible, and say, hey, I want to teach other people about co-teaching. Are you free this period? Are you free at the end of the day that I can show you what it is that I can do? Okay. And they came and she did it. And she started doing this. And they're like, hey, I love this. Can you do it again next month? And
Yeah.
now the teachers within her school are being better co-teachers because what it is that she did. So then those teachers, here's the kicker,
Right.
a few of those teachers that were taking a training at her school has spouses in another district. One of them has a spouse that's a principal. Mentioned to them what was going on. The principal from the other district says, hey, can you come and do it for me? And they're like, yeah, I can. I worked with her on how she can arrange her investment or fee. She did that. In that training she did at the other school, there was someone who had a spouse who was a superintendent. She told him she's going, come on, y'all. You can see it. Come on, man. You can see the pattern here. And that's what it is. Just taking those opportunities, putting
Yeah.
yourself out there. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be perfect because remember, you're up there, they're not. You're up there in front of everybody, they're not. So you're
Yeah.
already better than everybody else. Just practice, practice, practice. Know your material. Seek out some additional help, maybe through NSA, through many different areas to get some refinement, and then go for it, man. Go for it.
I love the word of mouth is really I still half of my despite all this tech and all this AI and it's like I
Yeah.
still know
Mhm.
statistics, half of my business is referral. And
Yeah.
so,
Same here.
and this is also the best marketing that you have is your speaking.
Is your
So that's
speaking?
why get on stages because if you are great or you're developing to be great, or you're greater than even the people around you, other people will come around just like this in this case. I want to go back to the superintendent though. I want to know. I actually don't think I know this story. How did Steve Bowler become a superintendent?
Oh, how did I become a superintendent? Oh,
Yeah.
dude. Okay, so when I was a child, I no, I won't go that far. But here's the thing. Uh, when I went to college for art education, I was an art teacher. I taught painting, drawing, sculpting. People
Right.
don't realize I'm a classically trained artist. Like that right there, that's one of my pieces that I did right there. That's one
The
of my pieces
crayons?
that I create. Yeah, it's a silk screen that I did out of crayons. I'm an artist. I create things.
Wow.
So
Cool.
I taught art pre-K to third grade. Little tiny people, barely came up to my hip. I'm 6'7". I did step on some of them. We settled out of court. They're fine. Don't worry. But anyway, I did that for 7 years, moved on to become an assistant principal in a middle school for a couple years. But the bulk of my career was as a building principal. I was a elementary building principal, and then I was an upper elementary building principal. Did that for good 12 years plus.
Wow.
The I noticed the landscape of education was shifting. All right. The expectations were shifting, the accountabilities were shifting. It was, you know, I mean, I got my superintendent certification early on just so I can hold on to it to see what I wanted to do with it. But I'm seeing that the landscape was shifting. I'm like, you know what? If I don't get in front of this thing, I'm gonna you're gonna get swallowed up in the principal level. So if you're going to grow, you're going to grow. So I started interviewing for superintendent and assistant superintendent positions. So I ended up landing an assistant superintendent position in Hamilton Township, New Jersey, seventh largest district in the state of New Jersey. Um, and yeah, I got the assistant superintendent of curriculum and instruction. Tough job, highly political community, the board, all those things. And the crazy thing is, I started in August. By January, I was the superintendent. The superintendent that was there left, rolled out. And so I was the one in the district that had the certification. So I automatically became an acting superintendent. So I became acting superintendent, did that for pretty much almost the remainder of that year until the beginning of June. They brought another person in. And then I was there, ended up having back surgery, which is crazy, but I continued on for the next year. And then I moved out and became a superintendent for a charter network. So that's how that worked. I got dropped into it because the superintendent left. But yeah, and when I was superintendent, I did some good stuff. We did some good work. I was happy and proud of the work that we did. Yeah.
What's one of the good stuff things that you did? I'm kind of curious.
Oh, okay. Well, one of the issues that we had was we had to do a RIF, all right, reduce in faculty. And that's never a good thing because of our budget and where our budget was and everything like that. So usually what happens when you do a RIF is you take all your non-tenured people, you send basically a pink slip, a letter to them, and you say to them, hey, your name is going to be mentioned at the board meeting in that there could be a reduction in force and you have nothing,
You're
it's
on the
very
list.
cold. It's a very cold letter. People are nervous. And I remember feeling this or knowing this in my past. So what I did is we created this letter, it came out of HR. I followed up with an email to the entire staff, every single person, every custodian, secretary, teacher, anybody who had a district email, you got an email from me. And I sent this email out and I explained the entire process of the RIF,
Mm.
understanding that we have a certain number of teachers that are going to go and retire. From that retirement, that will change over the total number of police positions that we have. I said to him, I don't want to lose any of you. Unfortunately, this is the business of education. I says, I will keep you informed of the process as we go forward. And then I did a series of 2 or 3 additional emails to everybody. I got such amazing positive feedback. Superintendents don't do that. They just roll and they just do it. But I was like, no, these are people, these are livelihoods. It turned out that we only had to riff one person. And
Wow.
actually, the one person that we ended up riffing had really bad, what do you call it?
Attitude.
evaluations, and they
Right.
were on the chopping block to begin with anyway.
Okay.
So in the end of that, everybody was like, thank you so much. For years, no one has ever explained this to us, never ever talked to us. So that was something I was quite proud of, is making those connections with people. Yeah.
You said this phrase, right? Superintendents don't do this.
Mhm.
And what do you think your reasoning is? Yeah, because I'm sure you know of or experienced lots and lots of other superintendents, and now you've been in the position, so you've been on both sides of the table. I'm just curious, why do you think superintendents don't do this?
Uh, it's. I mean, granted, there are some that may, but
Sure.
most that I don't. They are in the office. They're in their position. They're running the district. They talk to the principals. They don't, sometimes, especially in a bigger district, and this was a decent sized district, three
Yeah.
high schools, three middle schools, 17 elementary schools. It was a decent sized district. It wasn't a big city, but it was decent. Um, it's just the more that you explain it, the more that you talk with people, it opens it up to additional questioning of of what you're doing. It
Yeah.
opens up to more you know feelings that you have. Am I doing the right thing or not doing the right thing? But I strongly feel that that's part of the process of helping people. That's part of the process of me growing. Because if you're asking me questions, then I'm going to research those questions, and therefore in the future, I'm going to be better informed to know what I have to do.
Yeah.
So that's my reasoning for it.
Mm.
That's
Well,
leadership.
and I think people will understand bad news better if you explain it to them. It's when you it's like recently we saw, right, somebody got 800 people got fired on a Zoom meeting. This is like the worst example of any meeting ever
Mhm.
possible because there
Right.
was no two-way street, there was no discussion, there was like all these missing parts of the process. You got told what to do as opposed to you feel like now I'm maybe part of the process or I'm
Right.
transparent. I like understand,
Hmm.
what may happen to me as opposed to
Hmm.
the blind side, right?
Right. Right.
Uh,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
so is this some of what you coach? Is this what's in Stand Tall leadership? I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
Oh,
You said those are the
100%.
main points, right?
Yeah. It is a big piece of it. So there's different things that I do, and I talk about culture and climate, but there's a big piece that I call Stand Tall Leadership. And I work directly with school leaders, principals, superintendents, assistant superintendents, directors, teacher leaders. And we talk about what it takes to be a leader to develop that environment. Because the number one thing I speak on is culture and climate.
Yeah,
And so
culture.
for Stand Tall Leadership, let's talk about being the type of leader that helps develop the environment where teachers can teach and students can lead and people feel good. And when people feel better, they do better, right? So as a leader, what things can you do to develop those relationships, increase your level of influence, because that's what leadership really is, towards your vision, mission, and values so that you're making gains and the outcomes are getting what needs to be done.
Yeah,
And the last thing I talk about is ideas, ideas, ideas. I talk about ideas all the time. So that kind of flows into it. Here's another idea. Here's another idea. Here's another idea. Now they don't have to take every single idea I have, but I found that when you provide multiple ideas, even if they don't take those ideas, it generates the idea section of the brain to start kicking in. So therefore, they can start coming up with new ideas, better ideas on their own that better fit what it is their community really needs. And it works well. It works very, very well.
well, a lot of people are talking about retention, and so again, Steve has recently, I think, finally just completed his 1 year chair of what's known as the Chapter Leader Institute, I believe, if that's the correct name.
Chapter Leadership Committee.
Oh,
Chapter
committee,
Leadership.
CLC.
Yeah,
That's right,
yeah.
Chapter Leadership Committee, which means he he's helped educating all of the multiple chapters of National Speakers Association across the country. And so, Steve, I'm excited to share this fact: is that recently we finally did the numbers. Our chapter had a 95% retention rate
There it is, man.
because
That's
the
what's up.
membership is always two problems, right, or two challenges. One is getting new people in, and of course,
Mm.
getting them to stay.
Getting them to stay. Yep.
And
That's
I
it.
really feel like, culture is part of that. We did a number of things to engage our members at a higher level this year. And I think those are the things that account for like a 95% retention rate. People want to be here. Like people have told us that when they come in as a new member, they're like, there's something here and I want to be part of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm curious from your side on the retention side, What do you see, or what are some of the top things that can happen either in culture or climate that help people say, "I want to stay here. I'm bought in. I want to."
That 100%. And this goes for teacher retention. It goes for association chapter retention. It goes for anything that you are, any grouping of people that come together. All right. Even if you got three people. All right. So if we look at climate and culture, all right, there's two different things. We always say climate culture, we say it together, but they're actually two different things that help each other. All right. So climate is the emotional state people feel when they enter a space. How do you feel? Right. And you're very virtual. Even when you enter your virtual space, how do you feel? Because we're emotional creatures. We feel a certain way. When we come to an association meeting, we feel a certain way. When we go to a school and a classroom or a building or an organization, you have feelings when you enter that space. And those feelings fluctuate. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
good, sometimes it's not so good. All right.
Yeah.
Then we look on the other side, which is culture. What is culture? Culture is just a fancy word for traditions. That's what I think culture really is. That's what it is. It's a culmination of traditional things that are done over time. Perfect example. Like if you were to say, "Hey, I'm going to go to another country. I'm going to go visit Thailand, right? Oh, I can't wait to get to Thailand. I'm going to get immersed into their culture. Well, what is their culture? The things that they do over time. This is what you're going to do. So, same thing with an organization, association, a school, a classroom. What is being done over time? What is their operational culture? How do they operate? How do they organize things? How do they do things? What is their behavioral culture? All right. How do people talk to each other? How do they treat each other? So what they do over time, that influences your climate, how people feel. Because the traditional things that you do, if they're off, they're not welcoming, they're not fun, they're not providing value, they're not ROI, where you're getting something out of it. And that's the way that you've been operating for so long, people aren't going to stay. But if those things are happy, they're fun, they're energetic, you're getting those good things out of it, then the feelings, the climate is going to stay positive and people are going to stay. So when we're talking about retention, getting back to your initial question,
Yeah.
how can we maintain that retention rate, which amazingly you guys did with 95%? You created a culture, routines, and traditional things that make people feel good. So therefore, they're going to stay. That's how this works, guys. You got to look at the culture if you want. You got to look at the culture in order to make sure that the climate works well, so people will stay on and be there.
Oh, I love that. That's they're just symbiotic. They're always working
Symbiotic.
together if
Yes.
if it's working correctly, right?
Yes, exactly. Because you can do a culture where it's not it's very good. It's not. You can create cultures are created. It could be negative. It could be offsetting. It could not feel good. So therefore, people aren't going to stay.
Yeah,
That's what it
you'll
is.
love this. Have you ever studied appreciative inquiry, Steve?
I have not.
Oh, I think it's something you would like, right?
Okay.
So check it out. David
Appreciate it.
Cooperrider, and there's another person that they co-created it, and it's all in the positive psychology side. And one of
Okay.
the fascinating parts was like even the number of positive right to negative words. So they analyzed all the emails for a lawyer firm that was a little bit on the toxic side, and it was my negative 50 negative words in their emails to every positive word.
Wow.
And so that those are the type of things that are influencing right the culture or
Yes.
the climate. And no wonder people were leaving this company in
Yeah, they're
droves.
like,
So
yeah, I don't feel good when I'm here. And if you don't
yeah,
feel good, you don't do good. So they're not going to stay around. And I get it. Some people say, buck it up. That's the way the world is.
right.
No, it doesn't have to be that way. The way the world is people want to find things that are positive. That's what they want. So why
Right.
not do it? Yeah.
So, well, speaking of challenging, let's go back then to March of 2020. So, Steve is an 8-year speaker. That means he lived through COVID, coronavirus. And I'm curious,
Oh
what
no.
happened to Stand Tall Steve in March of 2020?
Oh man, here we go. Okay, so I've been speaking for I've been speaking for 20 some years, but I just recently started on my own, right?
Yeah.
And the first year that you do whew, on your own, it's tough. It was tough. But I started to get some momentum. I had about a good 8 or 9 speaking engagements locked in. I was getting involved with, I was then president of NSA Philadelphia. It was rolling, it was going. So I was speaking at a school, Lakeside Middle School in Millville, New Jersey, and I did an assembly for the students, and I was staying after school with the staff, and I was doing a training for the staff. So once I was done my assembly, the principal comes to me and says, "Yeah, something's going on. I think we might have to close, tomorrow." I said, "For what?" "There's a health scare." "Oh, is that COVID thing that's going on?" "Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think we might have to close." I said, "Okay, no problem. Well, go ahead and train the staff." I said, "Okay." So the staff all comes into the room. I'm doing my training, and people getting their phones and are looking at it. They're looking weird while I'm training. Principal runs in and says, "I'm sorry to interrupt you." I'm like, "Interrupt me? What?" And he's like, "All right, teachers, I need you to send me that, 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 that. They're making photocopies so they can send home to kids the next day." And I was like, "Okay." And some of the teachers like, "Excuse me." They're so polite. And they're running out and they're doing this thing. So I continue my training and I made it to the end. But by the time I got to the end, everybody had their laptops open. They were trying to do, and they're just like, and then he announces, "Yeah, we're going to be closed the next few days because of this. Everybody, please go home." And he's like, "Thank you so much." Shook my hand. He says, we'll get payment to you." Never went back to a school for I don't know how long. But because I was a part of NSA, I had been introduced to Zoom, and I was trying to utilize Zoom with schools before this. And a lot of schools are like, "We don't even understand what you're trying to do." So I knew what Zoom was already. So when this all went down, I shifted instantly to how to do virtual presentations for schools, how to keep kids engaged. Hey, I can come into your faculty meeting and provide PD. I mean, I did a marketing like a beast. I just, man, I was fine. I actually made more that year virtually
Yeah.
than I did regularly. And
Yeah.
then when everything finally, because I did webinars, I did a whole free webinar a month for the whole year. Each one talked about a different thing. I recorded them, turned them into virtual courses, the whole nine. So when everything opened back up for schools, I reposted some of the videos that I did, and people were like, "Hey, remember that guy that we had on the video? Remember? Let's call him." So, boom, I blew up after the
Wow.
because of what I did for during the pandemic. Yeah.
And what do you account, like you're talking about your climate or your culture? What was the thing that went on in your head that said, this isn't tragedy, this is opportunity?
I don't know. Instantly, I think because I was utilizing Zoom, because just before the pandemic, I remember NSA was offering a Zoom package for everybody.
Right?
So
It's
me
phenomenal.
being, yeah. So I was like, being an NSA president, I looked into it. I'm like, "Oh, this is great. I thought that schools could really use this. I can help go into faculty meetings and not actually travel all over the place." But schools just had a hard time with it because they just didn't understand what Zoom was. They were just very narrow-minded about it. Well, I don't want to say narrow-minded, but they're used to what they were used to.
Yeah, they didn't
Um,
have the experience
they
on
didn't
that
have the
platform. You
experience.
you have to get the experience on the platform to
You have to.
understand. Yeah.
The few schools that I did get to do it, boy, they loved it. They like, this was amazing.
Yeah.
So when it went down, I was thinking, thank goodness I did that, because I had that mindset of, "Oh, I'm actually ahead of the curve. I got this. Let me roll with this. Let me push this." I mean, I did. I look at it as an opportunity because, again, like everybody else, I don't have a 9 to 5 job. I got a mortgage. I got a wife. I got 3 kids, 2 dogs, and 10 fish. I mean, I got to get some money, right? And I was already doing some consulting already. So with the New York Department of Ed. So we just shifted that over as well, and that provided income. So it worked out all right. It worked out all right.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a phenomenal story. What's funny, Steve, is because academia is what turned me on to Zoom. Is that
Mm,
Skype was dying at the time. I was
mm,
looking for a new virtual platform, and one of my friends, who I met through NASAGA's, the National Association of Simulation and Gaming, they came around and they said our college actually just reviewed like 15 plus different platforms, and Zoom came out at top. So I just ignored all the doing any other research myself and just
yeah,
got an
just
account.
crap.
That was like 2015.
Oh wow, yeah.
And we
Yeah.
were actually running our meetings. So, like, to avoid traffic here in Seattle, some of my teammates, we would run meetings on virtual so that people wouldn't have to commute, all right, and waste an hour of their day. And that's how we got good at it. We were already ahead of the curve for that, and I think that's.
Mhm.
But I wanted to make sure too. I don't know if you reflected on this moment, but getting ahead of the curve is exactly what you said around the superintendent thing.
Yeah. Again, I did. Yeah. I was looking at what was going on. See, sometimes people, you get immersed in your own work, your own job, what it is that you're doing, your day to day. Every now and then, you got to pick your head up, pop it out, see what's happening around. Read the room, y'all. Read the room. Get the
It's like
tea
that's
leaves,
teacher. That's
man.
right. Teacher number 101, right? Teacher 101
Teacher
is read the
101.
room.
Read the room, brother. Read the room, sister. Come on. I saw that education was shifting and changing. I'm like, look, if I want to stay relevant in this, if I want to lead, because here's the other thing. I was at this school where I was there for 8 years as a building administrator, building principal.
Hmm.
At a certain point, also, my salary as a 9 year, 10-year principal is going to be higher than a first year superintendent or assistant superintendent. So I'm going to end up taking a pay cut. So if I don't move, something's going to, you know what I'm saying? It's like, if
Something's
I
gonna
want to do
give.
this,
Yeah.
let's do this. So
Right.
looking ahead at the Zoom thing in the pandemic situation, I saw this, and this is one of the things that I made sure that I did throughout my years in NSA. There's so many great things that you learn in NSA, speaking, business, training,
Mm.
that they do not do in education. So there was
Yeah.
a lot of things that I learned throughout the years, my 20 some years in NSA, that I brought with me over to education. In education, they're like, oh, wow, this is great. You're speaking. You did. Yeah. Yes, because I've learned it there and brought it over. So that was another situation where I learned something in NSA, association, corporate, nonprofit, healthcare, whatever you want to call it, brought it over to education. Like, yeah, because I mean, as much as we're all about educating and extending the mind of people, in K-12, we are slow. So sometimes we need to pull that stuff in. So that's what I did.
Well, I think that's one of the innovation pieces to me is like one of my theories in life is you use two things that don't go together to solve a problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why pulling in from other locations is one of a great ways to be a leader in the industry because
Yeah.
you're just bringing ideas that other people aren't thinking about.
And they're not thinking about, right.
And I'll give a shout out to my dad because my dad actually, like in this like look ahead of the curve, he was a doctor and he actually worked at Kaiser, Kaiser Permanente at one
Uh,
time. And he just said, because there was time in my youth, I said, "Oh, I think I want to be a doctor," and he goes, "Like, don't do it," because he saw what was coming down the pike for him was that insurance companies were making all the decisions and not the doctors, and he
mm,
liked it better when the doctors made the decisions because then
right.
we could do advocate for the patient, and so
Mm,
this is what led me down the technology route
right.
was not becoming a doctor.
Isn't
Uh,
that something?
so let's look a little into the future then, right? Like we're gonna get ahead of the curve. So now Steve Bollar stands up and he stands tall. He looks down the road and like 5 or 10 years down the road, in speaking and education, what do you see as some of the things that you think you'll see in your lifetime? Some changes? What are some predictions, or what do you think is ahead of the curve?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, looking down at the head of the curve, I think that um, education is going to be more independent. It's going to be more personalized,
Hmm.
specifically at the later middle school and high school area level.
Hmm.
All right. And people are going to start realizing that the subject matter and the specific subject matter that you're teaching is just a vehicle to doing hard things and the process of learning. So what do I mean by that? At the elementary level, there's skills that need to be developed. You got to
Yep.
learn how to do math, you got to do how to read, you got to do how to basic things. So
Right.
that from pre-K all the way up until you get to fifth, sixth, maybe even seventh grade, it's going to be focused on developing those hardcore skills so they are set. So therefore, and with it, and mixed in there, there's also a little bit of the ladder. Once you move to seventh, eighth, and up, the different subject matter that you're going to teach can be learned on YouTube. It
Yep.
can. Most of it can. Those, I mean, now you have to be disciplined to do it, but there's a lot of different venues that you can learn content. So educators are going to start realizing and understanding that the content that they teach is just a way to increase resiliency in kids,
Mm,
increase higher level thinking, problem solving that they can use in life.
yeah.
One of the things I'm sure you heard growing up, as well as I used to say it as well as a kid, and some kids still say it now, is why do I need to learn this? I'm not going to use this in life at all. And
Yeah.
the answer is you need to learn it because it's hard. That's it. Because it's difficult. Because life is what? Hard and difficult. So the subject of what it is, you researching World War I and doing a report on it is building resiliency, is building the capability and the persistence of doing difficult and hard things. It's just funneled through the process of learning about World War I and doing research and doing public speaking. So I think that that's going to shift. I
Mm.
truly believe in education. That's going to shift the way that teachers are teaching, the way that administrators are leading, the way that schools are operating. In that, it's going to be very project based. It's going to be
Yes.
how we can build you up so that you can continue to do hard things. And we're doing that through the lens of different content.
That's interesting because I just recently I got to go back and figure out the term. I wrote it down somewhere, but
Mm,
there is a term that one of my friends used that says in the exercises we give in a class or in while speaking needs to be harder,
hmm.
right? It
Yeah.
needs to be harder because they said they
Mhm.
retain more when the
Yeah.
exercise is more difficult.
Yes.
And so
100%. Hmm.
right? And so I'll if I find this term, I'll send it to you because apparently there's a whole body of research around it. It was the first time I ever heard this term,
Mm.
and so yeah,
Okay.
but there is definitely some science too behind
Oh
all
yeah,
of these
having doing
ideas.
hard things. You're
Yeah.
doing some hard things. I mean, that's why I have it here. We can do hard things. That's what it is. We need to develop the skills so that you can do the hard things. So that I love the book Grit
Yes,
by Angela Duckworth, and they talk about that persistence, how to build that persistence. That's what needs to happen in education and schools, because then when tough things come up, you're not falling apart. You're able to withstand it. You're able to think creatively. You're able to work within the team so that things can get done. Those are the people that are going to excel in life, are those people that have those skill sets.
and I think going back to the whole COVID story, I think that's it was very interesting to watch. Everyone's different interpretation, right? I actually talked to some other well-known speakers, and some of them didn't do anything for 3 months. They were in shock, right?
Yeah.
Because they lost, like someone said, I think they quoted, they lost like 60 speaking engagements, which for us as business people is a lot.
Yeah.
And so, just going through all the different permutations, and all of them, are sometimes all right. Like it's the world's biggest pause, right? It was like the world's biggest. People had to poke their head up. They didn't have a choice. They
They didn't
needed to
have a
look
choice.
down the road.
If you didn't poke your head up and look around and read the room,
Yeah,
you just got swallowed up and that was the end of you.
yeah.
Yeah.
You got ran over, right, with
Ran over.
whatever else was going on.
Exactly.
Well, cool. Well, stand tall, Steve. We're to the fun section of this interview. This is known as the speed round. The
Okay.
speed round is that I've been writing down some questions while listening to you. And so
Mm.
now I'm going to give you a bunch of them, and you have to attempt to answer them as fast as possible.
Let's
Okay?
go. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Here's the first one. Teacher you want to give a shout out to?
Mrs. Hammond. She was my middle school art teacher and is the reason why I became an art teacher. She passed away, but love that woman.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic. Your best superintendent moment.
Best superintendent moment, when a teacher came to me and asked me to speak at her class, read a book at her class, and I went there and I read and we laughed so hard. It was a goofy book. I can't, it's something that was Doctor Who in a zoo, I think it was. I don't think we were crying, it was laughing so hard. That was great.
Here we go. A memorable student.
Memorable student, David Azer. David Azer, I was an art teacher. He was a student. He broke his leg playing soccer. And I helped him create a Halloween costume because he was so depressed. He went to the Halloween party, ended up getting first place, changed his whole attitude. yeah, that was good.
You know what? You got to listen to Elizabeth Gilbert has a whole costume story like that, and I'll
Yeah,
have to share it
yeah,
with you later. But
yeah.
you know, it's so great that art and costume was
Oh, I was the principal who wore a costume all the time at school, and as a teacher, I would dress up like actually it's part of my keynote. I talk about how I dress up and all the things. So, yeah, man, that's it.
a different a superintendent you respect.
Superintendent that I respect. Oh, I had oh, there were a lot of different ones. I can't remember exactly her name. I can't remember. She was the county superintendent in Hamilton town in Mercer County, New Jersey, when I was a superintendent. And she
Okay.
went to bat for me because
Ooh.
the board said to me, "You're not allowed to speak at all."
Oh.
And that's not true. And she came up and she says, "No, he is allowed to speak. And as a matter of fact, you must put it in his contract." So yeah, and she didn't even have to do that, but she did that. That meant a lot to me. She was a county
Oh.
superintendent. Yeah, yeah,
That's an NSA story you should give out, right? Because when people make the transition, right, there's sometimes people try and prevent you from
yeah,
speaking out, and I think
yeah.
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah, she
huge
did a great
ally,
job.
huge advocate.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
Steve Bowler's favorite artist.
Oh, Leroy Campbell. I love his there it is right there. Leroy Campbell. I love his
Oh,
artwork. It's African American, it's black, it's education, it's life. I love Leroy Campbell.
yeah, there we go. Let's see. Wait,
Yes,
Leroy Campbell music.
that's it.
Best thing about New Jersey.
Best thing about New Jersey, the people. People think that we're rude and mean, and we are, but I like it. Those are my people. We are tough. We are a tough group of people. We're crowded. There's so many people in New Jersey, but I love my Jersey peeps.
Oh,
Yeah,
there you go. This is for New Jersey in the house.
there you go.
Oh, wait,
Here we go.
there we go. New Jersey in the house. Uh, a culture you'd like to share. Somebody else's culture that you would like to share.
Oh, I know this sounds weird. I love barbecue. I am a barbecue nut. Like I have 12 grills at my house. Like I love so barbecue culture. People don't realize there's barbecue competitions. I've done competitions. There's a whole barbecue culture that's out there. Some of the nicest people. I mean, sometimes you look at people and you're like, yeah, you crazy, but they're the nicest people in the world. I love barbecue culture. That's just a little different. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just went to Sugar Fire in St.
St.
Louis.
Louis, Sugar Fire. Yes. That's some
So,
good food. That's a good event. Yes.
and I got a smoker during the pandemic, and now I know how to do 3-2-1 ribs.
Oh, that 3-2-1 ribs. Oh, there you go.
There we
Perfect.
go.
Love it.
Okay, the most interesting fish.
Most interesting fish? Oh man. I will say catfish.
Oh,
Catfish, because it is a bottom dwelling fish. It is all the way down in the muck and everything like that. It looks weird. They range from this big to huge and they taste delicious. I don't care what you say. Some people say it's a bottom dwelling fish. It's not a high quality fish. It's good. You fry that sucker up and it's all right. So,
catfish. There we go. Wait, ready?
yep.
Catfish.
Yeah, Jaws catfish or something. Yeah.
Uh, uh, a hard thing you haven't done yet.
A hard thing I have not done yet. Hmm. That's a good one. Climb a mountain.
Ooh.
I've always, I mean, my son is an Eagle Scout. I was a scout leader. We've done tons of hiking and things like that, but I would love to tackle a mountain somewhere at one point with him. I would love that. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you know this about me, Steve, but I've got 5 attempts on Rainier, 3 summits, and one on Denali.
Oh, wow. There you go.
So let me tell you, right? Look for one of the mountaineering companies on Rainier because that's that
Rainier.
Rainier is the tallest in the 48th. You
Yeah.
got to go. You got to do a tall mountain too. You're stand
I
tall,
mean,
right,
Stand Tall
Steve?
Steve, you got it. I'll do it with my shirt, my Stand Tall
Right.
Steve shirt. But yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
can
yeah.
do it in like 3 days, right? 2.5 days, and I'll tell you, it is a supreme experience. You
Mm,
will walk away with at least one or more NSA style speaking stories from the
yeah,
experience,
yeah.
guaranteed.
Awesome.
Okay, last question here. You know, if you could get people to magically remember one thing from today's interview, what would that one thing be?
Oh, one thing about today's interview is probably the difference between climate and culture. I kind of went into detail
I
and
liked
just
it.
understand that climate, culture are two different things, but they support each other. Especially culture supports climate. And, climate's about the emotional state you feel. Culture are the traditional things that happen. Make sure those traditional things that are happening are positive, forward thinking, challenging, and that will make people feel better over time. So yeah, that whole climate and culture, I hang my hat on that, especially with based off of what I speak on myself.
Well, stand tall, Steve. As always, this is great. I got to learn even more about you. We're going to see
Thank
you
you,
in
man.
Arizona coming up later this
Yep,
month.
that's it.
And again, thank you for all of your service to National Speakers Association. And I think the thing that drives you, stand tall, Steve. At least from if you haven't said the words, I'll say the words. I think it's your service, right? Like in COVID, you had to think about how can I serve all those people around me? And I think that's the thing that served you during
Mm,
that time. That's what I do know about you. So,
thank you.
Steve,
I
thanks you
appreciate that.
again for your time.
You're welcome so much, man. I appreciate your time as well. Thank you for having it, and thank you all your listeners as well.
Outstanding. All right, let's see. So, we've been hanging around with Stand Tall Steve. He says climate is how do you feel when you enter a space? Culture is the fancy word of the traditions over time. And so one of our traditions here is subscribe, share, and like, and comment if you're on social media. Listen to more podcasts like this one, engagingvirtualmeetings.online. Educate yourself. Come to amazing conferences, meetings, retreats here at the Engaging Conference in October. And most of all, if you want to be like Steve, you don't have to be tall. You just have to click engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet, select interview, and you could be the next guest here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Thank you, Stand Tall Steve, and we'll see you next time.
Don't we start people and keep old people? Show you God.